And hello, welcome back to Live with the Shaman. And here we go. Right, couple of quick announcements. For those of you that may watch live and for those of you that watch the pre recorded broadcast, we have opened another group. It's over on Flickr. You do have to have a Yahoo account to access it, but Flickr Flickr's a photo sharing system that is absolutely phenomenal. I really like it. And so I opened a group over there for pagans to share their videos, to share pictures of altars, maybe videos of altar cast, right? So the link is in the description area. For those of you that watch on the YouTube archives as well as here on Facebook, you'll find that in the description area. Right. So we will get on without further ado. And as many of you know, Live with the Shaman during this period of time is being used as training for those students of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. It gives newcomers an idea of kind of what they're going to be looking at. It gives people an idea of where they're going to be going and what they're going to be studying. If they decide to pull a teacher from the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, if they decide to follow the shaman path, and they want to follow the Celtic shaman path, these broadcasts and these archives over on YouTube and here on Facebook of these videos will help. Also, those of us that have been in it for a while, well, it kind of helps as a reminder to reach back and search self. I have to say, in doing these classes, I hope that other leaders of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman will start posting their own training videos within the way they train, right? I don't recommend they do it at the same time as mine because, well, that might be conflicting. Anyway, onward and upward. Morning, Clint. Right. So today we're going to carry on Priest Training Part 4, continuing the training of circle protocol, how you call a circle, what you do, what is pre-rit, how you get ready for it. And it looks like, let's get on over there and get started. Looks like we might be able to finish this today. I don't know. Depends on how many questions we have and what we talk about in chat. Do feel free, and I want to remind you of this, everybody that watches our broadcast, both live and pre-recorded. Feel free to ask your questions if you don't understand what we're talking about. I mean, it can be kind of daunting at times, but believe it or not, most of what we go over in these training courses will come natural if you are indeed shaman. So, here we go. Right, so here's what we're covering in part 4. I will get rid of that. Right, this section here, getting ready for pre-rit, this is when you explain to the people in circle what the rit, short for ritual, is about. We explain whether the circle will be smoking or non-smoking. I'll go over that here a little more here in a minute. All of the information people need to know to attend. Don't forget to explain to the people why you're calling. Is it about a Sabbath? Is it a dedication circle? Will we be doing dedications in the circle? Will we be doing a Sabbath circle? Or is it a training circle or just to raise energy? We talked to the people about the march. Daughter transport to Walmart. All right. See you later, Clint. We explained to the people about the march. What is the march? Why do we march? What? And I'll go over that here in a minute. If we're going to have a march, explain to the people what it's used for. Don't forget to talk about sacred space. Okay, so let's talk about this. Pre-ritual, what is it? Well, it's something that we came up with many, many years ago. During feast, we would do a pre-ritual feast where everybody comes together. They bring a potluck. Sometimes some of it was good luck, but it was all very good, always. So we do a pre-ritual feast. That way, when people actually go into circle, they don't go into circle hungry. That tends to KO people's attention. And it's always good to have full people. Every once in a while, I look up and somebody's after having their little after feast siesta. Well, that's fine. Hey, if you want to sleep in good energy, go for it. So the pre-read is where we talk about what we're going to be doing and why we're going to be doing it. We generally keep it short. It's spoken while people are eating. So we get your attention and we say, hey, this is what ritual is about. If we're doing a Sabbath circle, why we're doing it, what the Sabbath is about, and what we're going to be calling. We also talk about the rules and the regulations in circle, and every circle has them. But when you're an open circle, and you may have everyone from Catholics to Christians to agnostics. I've even had some Jewish come into our circle to learn. They need to know what the rules are. And I always put that segment in there, is it a smoking or a non-smoking circle? Well, back in the day, I did smoke. Now, as you well know, I vape. But I find it, and this is a personal thing, I find it disrespectful for a caller or attendees to be lighting up the cigarettes and puffing on the smokes when circle is being called. So it is always a no smoking call. What that means is while you're calling circle, while you're casting circle up, right? You're going around, to your different torches, candles, altars, or whatever, and you want the attention and the energy of the people on the calling of the circle. All of my circles are alcohol free. You're not going to sit there and drink a beer in the middle of a circle. You're not going to sit there and drink a whiskey in the middle of a circle. To me, drunken people in circle is disrespectful. So all of my circles are alcohol free. Now, periodically, we may have a chalice of wine on the altar to share. We may, someone may bring a chalice of wine that's always sniff tested by yours truly. I am a recovered alcoholic. I don't drink. Now, that doesn't mean the rest of the world can't drink, but you're not going to drink in my circle. Right. So that's always covered up front during pre-writ. No smoking during the calling of writ. Now, what we will do is after the call, once circle is cast up and everybody relaxes and sits down, my favorite saying is, smoke 'em if you got 'em, as long as they're legal. I see marijuana the same way I look at alcohol. There's a time and a place to drink it and smoke it. Sabbath circle is not one of them. Okay, we talk about during the pre-ritual what sacred space is. Sometimes you may have people that have never been to a pagan or a shaman circle before. And we explain what sacred space is all about. Sacred space is a circle at all times. that circle is considered hallowed ground. It is considered sacred space at all time, irregardless of whether it's cast up or not. And so what we generally do is after feast, after pre-writ, we do Q&A, questions and answers. Then we explain what the march is. What is the march? Well, we march 3 times clockwise around the outer ring of circle to cleanse any negative energy, any negative spirits that might be present. Many people will chant freedom and peace, peace and freedom, begone negative energy. Some people will chant all kinds of different things, and that's perfectly fine. But during the 3 times around the outer ring of circle, the chanting and the blessing of the circle is done, and it kind of helps to put people in a state of mind, if you will. Now, I generally, on a big circle, I like to have a bell. Shamans like bells, what can I say? And I will generally ring the bell prior to the march. I like bells, what can I say? But if I'm in a circle where there's not a bell, then I generally have the bells that you saw during altar cast. I have my bells with me, and I may ring them while doing the march. It all depends on how I feel. This is why we do rituals, not ceremonies. The basics is the same. The basis of how we do it is the same. But the things we say, the things we chant, and what we carry with us during the march may change. I may have my staff, I may have my sword, I may have my bell, I may have all 3. Who the hell knows? So that's what the march is about. We have the lineup prior to the march. The lineup is where everybody lines up outside of circle. And generally as a respect thing, I generally have people that are ranked. Of course, if the shamans are calling the circle, the shamans are in rank at the beginning of circle to lead the people in. If one of our witch sisters or a druid brother or sister or one of our witch brothers or sisters is calling the circle, they call the shots. They do the pre-writ, they do the lineup, they do the timing, and me and the shamans, we generally take up wherever they put us. Sometimes in the middle of lineup, sometimes at the tail end. We're fine. Stick us where you're going to stick us. Me personally, I will say during lineup, I need all of the leaders of other groups and covens to please come up to the front of circle behind the shamans. If you're visiting and you're not going to be doing the march, now listen to this real close. A lot of people miss this. If you can't walk, if you have trouble traversing rough terrain, I will ask people just to please exit circle and come back in, and when come in at the end of the line, and then when you come in, just veer off and sit down. I'm not going to make somebody that's in a wheelchair unless they want to, or on crutches unless they want to, and I've had them do it both ways, do the three lap march around circle. I'm not going to force somebody to do that. So when we come into circle, we come into the march, the people that are at the back end of the circle, Christians and other faiths and what have you, if they don't want to march, that's fine. They just veer off at the south altar and go in and have a seat. I'm perfectly fine with that. So as you can tell, the beginning of circle is very important. The beginning of circle protocol is very important. It puts us in the right state of mind, and it puts visitors in the right state of mind. It's not actually about control as much as it is being in the right state of mind, wanting to do the right thing, and being there for the right reason. That is the most important. Being there for the right reason. Stepping back over. Now, here's where it talks about release the people to exit circle and make ready for sacred space. Finish final prep for circle. Make sure the fire is lit correctly. Make one last check of the altars. Kneel before North and Council to prepare yourself for the event with deity. Now, that line, that instruction is something I have always done. When everyone exits circle, and if I'm calling circle, when everyone exits circle and gets ready for the march, I will ask one of my, I hate to use the term underlings, but I will ask one of my pupils to assist in getting the line ready while I prepare sacred space once everyone is out of circle. And I've had those that are in a position where they cannot walk, period, or they're in a wheelchair. And their wheelchair has trouble traversing any kind of rough terrain whatsoever. I'll speak to them first and say, are you okay leaving circle, or would you like to remain while I prepare sacred space? If you do remain, I ask that you remain silent. If you're smoking, don't smoke. Just kind of a respect thing. So as you can tell, we are we try to be very walker challenged friendly. I'm not going to force somebody to do something they don't or can't do. So keep that in mind. And the kneeling to the north altar is just something I do. It's not required. I do like for my students to try to do it at least a couple of times. But I can tell you, as I get older, my knees don't like to kneel. So I totally respect those who might not can. And if you do decide to kneel and have trouble, make sure you have a staff to help you get back up. Okay. So once you've gotten sacred space ready, and you feel that you're becoming whole with deity, then here's where I generally like to ring the bell. Now, everybody hopefully by this point is already in line and ready to go, but we're going to have some stragglers out there that are finishing up final cigarettes or whatever. And, so I generally ring the bell to try to bring people's attention. Here's where I talk about lining people up in according to rank. I like for ranked individuals to help carry the lead of the making ready of the energy of circle. Kind of a respect thing. Again, our circles are generally open, and we like to have people up front that are going to help with the energy. The entry of circle. Circle entry is always clockwise. Usually we enter through the direct south or direct north. We march the circle 3 times past the entry point. People always ask me, is it 3 times past the north or 3 times past the entry point? It's always 3 times past the entry point, and then the caller of the circle goes to the fire pit while everyone else filters out and takes their seat. I generally like to kneel on the north side of the fire to bring myself back, to bring myself to continue getting myself ready. Now, again, that's a me thing. That's not something that's required by tradition. It's a part of circle protocol, but it is variable, right? It's not the law, but it is something that will bring you a little bit more focused to the point of your task, doing what you need to do. So, once done, once done, now you commence calling circle. Now, generally here, and again, this is a me thing, generally here, once everybody is seated and once everyone is at their chairs, most people will continue to stand if they can. If you can't, fine. You know, if you've got a problem with your knees and your legs and you just simply physically can't stand, fine. But those who can will stand for the calling of the circle. Because normally what I will do once everyone is in their place is I will stand up at the fire. I'll check the fire one last time. I'll take a look around circle to be sure that we don't have any chatter going on amongst we little groups. If we do, I will ask to pray a 10 for the calling of the Sabbath, calling of the circle, calling of whatever. So once the circle is called, okay, once the circle is called, you look at the ranking GCS member in the circle. You will call them by their title, right? Um, Now, I do this because to me, it's respectful to ask a ranking member of my grove, priest so-and-so, Master Priestess Cindy, do I have a closed circle? Master Priest Clint, do I have a closed circle? High Priestess Lucy, whatever my ranking member is there, I will ask them, title, name, do we have a closed circle? They will at that point reply. The circle is closed. Now again, the purpose for that is simple, right? The purpose for that is simple. It allows you to have a certain protocol so that your ranking members will feel the energy. They will feel the shields around the circle for the Sabbath or whatever, and they will tell you, Master Priest, I see a hole in the southern portal. Right, let me take care of that. I go over and ask that the hole is closed. There will always, most of the time, sometimes more times than not, be some poor person that has to potty in the middle of circle call. Now I will say in all honesty, in the 20 something years I've been calling circle, I have only ever had two people that got sick to their stomach during the rise of the energy. It is something that they had never experienced before. They had never experienced an influx of energy before. And during the call and the rise of the circle, they got busy and ended up having to run to circle fence or circle border. I hate to say it, but to throw up over the edge. I even had one that, bless her heart, had to use a cigarette butt can to throw up in. And hey, that's fine. I'd rather do that than it get on the ground. I have also had people that had to step to the outer ring of circle because they were there to learn and observe within their religion, not actually become a part of circle, and that is fine. I love that. So don't have your feelings hurt if you have observers that want to sit outside of the circle of energy. That's going to happen. So when that happens, it leaves a hole. If somebody has to bow out at the south portal and go potty real quick, I've had that happen a lot. Well, you bow them out and you close the energy behind them. And they come back during call of circle. Most of the people, most of the seasoned practitioners will stand at the edge of the doorway and they will wait until circle is finished calling. They'll wait until circle is finished calling and then they will bow in. The caller of the circle will wave them in and close the energy door behind them. That's all a part of the circle protocol of entering and exiting circle. Hey, morning, David. So, I have asked, do we have a closed circle? I was told circle is closed. During the circle, you must decide what and how business will be handled. What and how business will be handled. What the hell is he talking about? During circle, you must decide what and how what business will be handled. Well, there's a lot of time. Yeah, I said Dave. Hi, Dave. During circle is when people like to dedicate new students. They like to dedicate new senior students, priest, high priest, masters, whatever, leaders of their grove, their coven, their whatever they may follow. And a lot of times people will take this period of time to dedicate different ranks and oaths. If they're going to oath to a new tradition, if they're going to inaugurate a new tradition, or rip up and destroy an old one of the two. People will generally announce that during the business of circle. Now, here is a little caveat that I did not mention during pre-writ conversation. During the pre-writ conversation, there will be questions asked. Will you be having any business before circle? I'm not going to ask you what the business is. I'm going to be looking at the different leaders of the different groups that are there And I'm going to say, if anyone has any business before the circle, please raise your hand so that I can get an idea of how many people are going to be coming to North before circle. Now, that doesn't go to say that during circle, that during ritual, somebody's not going to have something that smacks them upside the head going, this needs to be done now. We always allow for that. For those of you that are coming in late to the live broadcast, you may be a little confused as to what we've been covering. I recommend that you go back and watch in the entirety in the pre-recorded broadcast. Continuing on. Right. Okay, so continuing here, this is typically done by the seat of your pants, right? The business to be handled during circle is typically done by the seat of your pants. What types of business do you have? Do you have any students dedicating? Do you have anything that needs to be handled? Any introduction of new people, whatever. So then, generally, now keep in mind, I make that sound like a ritual circle is only about 15 to 20 minutes long. Nope. On an average, Sabbath circle can last an hour. The longest circle we ever had was 4, I think, if I remember correctly, other than Vision Quest. The longest circle we ever had was 4 to 6 hours. There was a boatload of business that had to be attended to during that circle. I don't even remember what the hell all it was, but it was a busy circle. Every one of us woke up the next morning with what we call ritual hangover, and I described that a little bit further down. So towards the end of the circle, we announced the healing circle. All right. Place all shamans in close to the fire. Call all others to circle. Call all others to circle. Circle the outside of the shamans and make their healing wishes. What is this for? Oh, to make their healing wishes. This is the point where if someone has had a loved one that has passed on, and we've had this before, they want to offer their ashes to the fire. That's when it's done. Or they want to offer a candle, stripped of the metal parts, of course, but they want to offer a candle to the fire with the loved one's name etched in it to send them on to their next life. That's when this is done. People that are sick, this is when they're asked for either their healing or they're made comfortable during their last period of time on Earth. As shamans, we're channeling this energy to the cosmos and listening to the wishes of those that are in circle. That is what shamans do, one of the things we do. We channel healing wishes to try to help those in need. That's what this is about. I will generally ask, and I've been doing it long enough, I'm kind of aware of when everybody is done, but I will generally ask, will there be any further business before this circle, before we enter the healing portion of the circle. And then I'll give it a few moments to see if anybody else steps up, because there's always some last minute stuff. And after about a minute, if nobody steps up, I will step to the center northern stone, and I will call all present shamans to um, I will call all present shamans to the center of the circle to circle in around fire. And then I will ask them to back up at least 1 or 2 steps so the people that need to enter the fire can. Now what we do at this point is I will say, if anyone in circle wishes to pass energies, to pass on a loved one, to ask for healing of another individual, you can do it vocally or not. Now this is important. You don't have to vocalize your prayers, your thoughts, your casts, your wishes. I do ask, out of respect, you don't do any nasty crap in my circle. Don't do any nasty crap in my circle. Take that as you will. But as it says right here, instruct the shamans to focus their energies into the fire. Slowly raise the hands to the skies. Focus that energy to the Great Spirit. That you follow. Right? Once the energy is relaxed, lower your arms. Release the people to return to their chairs. Okay? Once the energy is relaxed, in other words, once everything is done, once everyone is done, what they're asking for positive energies and what have you, you may have to lower your arms before then. I know it's hard for me to hold my arms up for that long. It becomes a pain in the ass. You release the people to their chairs. We always, always give thanks. Always. Always give thanks to the fire for the bounties given during the cast. Right. So after the healing circle, what you're going to do is you're going to give thanks to the fire, to the spirits for being there and hearing the people's wishes, prayers, cast, whatever you call it. Right? And then we go in to the casting down circle. Okay. In casting down the circle, we ask that everyone rise one more time, if you will, please, if you can, to the casting down and the giving thanks of the energies and deities that have joined us here today. Now, we release the spirit. We release the cardinal points. We release the we release all of the elements. Now this kind of confuses people a little bit because as shaman, we never counterclockwise circle. Though there are many paths out there that cast down their circle in reverse and cast up their circle in clockwise. We do not. We don't go around to each individual altar or each individual point and say thank you for your service. We stand at the northern altar. We raise our hands to the sky and we say thank you to the cardinal points. Go if you must, stay if you will, so mote it be. And then we say thank you to the elements who were with us here tonight. Go if you must, stay if you will, so mote it be. And then we cast down the spirits. Thank you to the deity and the spirits who were with us here tonight. Go if you must, always welcome to stay if you will, so mote it be. And then I will say, I will look at my ranking member and I will say, priest, priestess, whatever, Cindy, Clint, Lucy, Sabrina, whoever, is the circle open? And they will say, yes, the circle is open. Or I still feel a wobble somewhere, and they will tell me where they feel that wobble because I may miss it. And I will close the wobble, what we call a wobble. And at that point, I tell everyone, you are free to go if you must. You're welcome to stay if you will. And we generally drum if there's any more food. After a couple hours in circle, it's down to the munchies. So we will generally eat a bite, get something to eat, refresh our drinks, coffee, if there's a coffee pot, whatever. And we open for conversation, question. Do you have questions about what we did? The caller of the circle is asked to make themselves available for an hour or so for questions about circle. Why did you do this? What was that? Why did this work this way? How did that work? What does this do? What does that do? So we ask that they make themselves available for at least an hour or two afterwards. Now, most of the time, in all honesty, it ends up taking several hours. It's nothing new. It is nothing new for us to have several people still sitting there at sunrise the next morning. Me, I generally went to bed about an hour or so after circle. And what is ritual hangover? Well, I'm going to close with this. Ritual hangover is where you feel like you're hungover the next morning from the rise and the fall and all of the different energies in circle and the way it moves different people. Maybe you danced a lot. Maybe you raised energy. Anyway, maybe you did an energy raising while you were dancing. It's nothing to feel hungover after a ritual. We always call it ritual hangover. It's nothing new. We've all experienced it, so there you go. Right. So folks, that is circle protocol. Next week, really? Ah! Next week, we will move into ministry training, priest training, part. What the hell is it? Part 5. Ministry training. Here is where, again, like I say, you made the decision, assumingly, that during your priest training as a priest of the Grove of the Celtic Shaman, you wanted to go through your ministry training. Now, what I'm going to try to do here is, of course, we're based in Texas. If you are a remote student, it is your responsibility to research the laws for ministry, for performing weddings, burials, what have you, in your particular state. Right. So that's going to be next week's topic. And I'll tell you, I have really enjoyed these classes. I really enjoyed doing them. I look forward to keep doing them, and I look forward to other videos from other teachers who do training as well. As always, thank you for watching Live with the Shaman. We'll see you next week right here. Have a great week, and blessings to you and yours.